The deafening bass was like a giant's heartbeat, each pulse a hammer against my ribs, trying to beat down the wolf restlessness stirring in my bones. I lost myself in the crush of writhing human bodies, letting the stench of sweat, alcohol, and cheap perfume wash over me. This fleeting, mortal numbness was the only way I knew how to fight my fate. I am Elara Stormfang. My father is the alpha of the Stormfang pack, and I am his only daughter. According to the treaty, I was supposed to marry Liam, the beta of the Silver Moon pack, a gentle soul who was more scholar than wolf. Marrying him meant I could at least preserve a small window for myself to breathe within the prison of marriage. But now, everything was ruined. An iron grip clamped down on my wrist without warning, the force so great it threatened to shatter the bone. I was dragged brutally from the center of the dance floor. The cloying air of the club was replaced by the sharp, sterile scent of antiseptic and leather. It was my brother, Kale. His face, usually a mask of impatience, was now ablaze with a furious fire. "Elara!" he roared, shoving me into the back of a black SUV. His voice was loud enough to crack the bulletproof glass. "You have the nerve to waste time here? Get back to the territory." I rubbed my aching wrist, a cold sneer on my lips. What? Did that weakling Liam finally find the courage to protest this marriage at our doorstep? Kale's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror, as fierce as a cornered bull. "Your fiancé!" he bit out. Each word a death sentence. 0, 2, ran away. My heart plummeted, but a sick sense of relief quickly followed. He ran? Did that mean? Kale's next words were a dagger of ice, shattering my foolish fantasy. He ran off with a human. I sucked in a breath, my blood freezing in my veins. He abandoned the pact treaty for a fragile human? For a werewolf, especially one of high standing, to elope with a human was the ultimate act of betrayal and humiliation for the entire species. So you knew he was reluctant. Kale's gaze was sharp as a razor, seeing right through the pathetic hope in my heart. But our alliance with the Silver Moon Pack must continue, especially now, with those Bloodfang maniacs causing trouble everywhere. He started the engine, the roar like a beast's snarl. So, the elders of both packs have just made a new decision. From this moment on, your mate, he paused, as if even he feared the name, is the current alpha of the Silver Moon Pack, Damian Blackwood. No! The word escaped my lips in a raw scream, laced with a terror I didn't even know I possessed. In that single moment, the noise of the club, the buzz of the alcohol, the yearning for freedom, it was all annihilated by a single name, Damian. That name was a nightmare from which there was no waking. I grabbed Kale's arm, my nails digging into his leather jacket, my voice trembling with fear. "No, Kale, I'll get Liam back. He's just confused. I can talk to him. Please, don't make me marry Damian." Kale drove on in silence, letting my pleas echo in the confined space. He knew, as I did, that this was no longer my choice to make. The atmosphere in my father's council room was so heavy you could drown in it. Beyond the massive floor-to-ceiling windows stretched the endless, dark green mountains of the Stormfang territory, but to me, they were just a grander cage. Before all the pack elders, he announced that the rest of my life would be bound to Damian Blackwood. Even my father, the old alpha who had ruled for 30 years, had a flicker of undisguised reverence in his eyes when he spoke the name. After the meeting, I made one last desperate stand in his study. "Father, don't you understand? The fear was a living thing, threatening to swallow me whole and making my words reckless. Liam may be weak, but at least he's still human. Damian, he's a pure beast. His wildness will devour me." My father pinched the bridge of his nose, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "Elara, he is the alpha of the Silver Moon Pack, the most powerful leader among all our kind. Marrying him will bring you the highest honor and the greatest protection." Protection? I almost laughed. Asking a tiger to protect a lamb isn't protection. It's called being penned in. My fear of Damian wasn't baseless. It stemmed from our one and only childhood encounter, an encounter that had been seared into my memory for life. I was only 12, filled with the boundless curiosity of youth. I had snuck into the Silver Moon territory, eager to see their legendary moon-blessed lake. Instead, I witnessed a bloody execution. On a stark, empty platform, a 16-year-old Damien carried out the pack's justice with his own hands. He didn't even fully shift. In his human form, he simply extended his claws and fangs and tore out the throat of a pack traitor. Warm blood splattered across his face, but he didn't even blink. He stood under the cold moonlight, his tongue darting out to lick away the crimson stain at the corner of his mouth. Then, his pure, emotionless golden wolf eyes swept over to where I was hiding, behind a tree, frozen in terror. "Get out of here, little thing!" His voice was quiet, but it pierced me like a shard of ice. In that moment, I truly understood what a pure, undisguised predator was. He wasn't a man, nor was he a wolf. He was something above both, a terrifying force of nature called law. My first clash with Damien was a complete and utter defeat. From that day on, he planted a seed of fear in my heart, and it grew into a towering tree I could never hope to uproot. And now, I was to be married to that tree. As arranged, I was forced to move into the Silver Moon territory. Damien's castle, built from black granite, sat on the highest ridge of Blackwood Mountain. It was less a home and more a magnificent, cold prison overlooking his domain. He didn't hold any welcoming ceremony for me, simply had the butler show me to a ridiculously large bedroom, opulently decorated, but utterly devoid of life. He himself didn't appear until my third day there. I was standing on the balcony, gazing at the snow-capped peaks in the distance. A tall shadow fell over me, appearing in absolute silence. He brought with him an overwhelming presence, like the scent of cedar and the biting cold of winter. "Do you find my lands to your liking?" His voice was deep and magnetic, like the lowest note of a cello, yet it made the hairs on my arms stand on end. I didn't turn around, forcing my voice to remain steady. "It's colder than I expected." "It will liven up soon," he said. "In 3 days, we will hold the combining ceremony." I whipped around, finally facing the man I had feared for nearly a decade. He was even taller than I remembered, his powerful frame barely contained by a tailored black suit. His features were like those of a classical Greek statue, perfectly sculpted, and therefore utterly devoid of warmth. And his eyes, those golden eyes, were just as I remembered them, deep, calm, like a frozen lake, betraying no emotion. "I refuse." I could hear my own voice shaking, but I summoned every ounce of courage I had. "This is a political marriage. We don't have to take it that far. We can be like humans, a couple in name only, and stay out of each other's lives." A barely perceptible, mocking smirk touched his lips. "Alara, you don't seem to understand your situation. The ground beneath your feet is my land. The air you breathe is my air. From the moment you stepped into my territory, you became my property. And I do not share my property." His every word was a hammer, shattering the last fragments of my dignity. "You tyrant." "A compliment," he said, turning to leave, showing me nothing but his cold, rigid back. "Learn to adapt, or I will teach you the rules myself." The real turning point came a week later, during a convoy mission across territories. We had to pass through a grey zone bordering a human settlement, a favorite ambush spot for rogue wolves. I was in one of the SUVs. Damien was in his command vehicle. The explosion happened without any warning. Amid violent shaking and the shriek of twisting metal, our vehicle was thrown into the air and rolled several times. My seatbelt cut into me, and shards of glass rained down, one slicing open my forehead. Warm blood instantly blurred my vision. The vehicle was a crushed wreck. I was trapped in darkness, the thick smell of blood filling my lungs. Claustrophobia and the terror of death seized my heart. I could feel the beast within me on the verge of breaking free as a choked, pained whimper escaped my throat. Just when I thought I was going to die, there was a monstrous crunch. The mangled roof was ripped open by sheer, brute force. Moonlight and fresh air flooded in. Damien's face appeared in the opening. It was streaked with dirt and someone else's blood, his golden eyes glowing in the darkness like 2 burning embers. "Ilara." His voice was as steady as ever, but held an undeniable power. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." He pulled me from the wreckage, shielding me completely with his near-indestructible body against the chaos and attacks raging around us. I could hear the sickening sound of claws tearing through flesh and smell the ever-thickening scent of blood. A piece of shrapnel came hurtling toward me. Without even flinching, he simply shifted his body, taking the full impact with his back. I heard a muffled grunt. He placed me behind the relative safety of a large boulder and commanded, "Stay behind me. Don't move." That night, for the first time, I saw him in his full wolf form. He was larger than any werewolf I had ever seen. His fur, the pure, absolute black of midnight itself. Every pounce, every strike, was precise and lethal. He moved like a graceful, merciless dancer of death. He wasn't fighting. He was conducting a one-sided slaughter. To save me, he had become a storm of pure rage. Back at the castle, I insisted on treating the wound on his back. He silently removed what was left of his shredded shirt and lay face down on the sofa. The firelight danced across the mountainous terrain of his back muscles, sexy and dangerous. A wound, deep enough to show bone, ran from his shoulder blade down to his waist. It was horrific. My hands trembled as I gently cleaned the wound with a cotton ball soaked in herbs. That's when I saw it. Another scar, an old one, almost faded into his skin, right over his left breast, near his heart. It was a strange shape, like a circular puncture wound. "What's this from?" The question slipped out before I could stop it. He was silent for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, his low voice rumbled through the room. "A long time ago, from a silver-tipped rebar. Got it, protecting a little fool who didn't know any better and kept trying to run off into the human world." My heart skipped a beat. I remembered. When I was 12, before I stumbled upon his execution, I had wandered into an abandoned human construction site. A few rogue wolves had cornered me. Just when I thought I was done for, a black-clad figure dropped from above and took care of them. But in the fight, a piece of rebar fell from a higher level and impaled him through the chest. I was so terrified, I ran without ever seeing his face. It was him. My best friend, Serafina, was the only one who knew I'd once had a fleeting, confused crush on that cold-hearted boy. Before I moved to Blackwood Castle, she'd told me, "Admit it, Ilara, you're not afraid of him. You're afraid you'll willingly fall in love with the beast." I had scoffed then. Now, her words echoed in my mind like a curse. After the attack, Damien's control over me tightened. He forbade me from leaving the castle. He even restricted my communications. He called it protection, but in reality, I had become his prisoner in every sense of the word. In defiance, I started drinking. One night, I woke from a drunken stupor to find myself lying in Damien's enormous, black velvet bed. He walked in holding a bowl of a strange-smelling hangover remedy and ordered, in a tone that allowed no argument, "Drink this." I turned my head away. "No." He gripped my chin, forcing my mouth open, and poured the soup down my throat. "Ilara," he said, wiping a stray drop from my lips, the rough pad of his thumb sending a shiver through me. "We will be living together, sleeping in the same bed. There are some things I expect you to get used to." A young wolf named Jacob began to show me attention. He was one of the few in the pack bold enough to challenge the alpha's authority. He would sneak me news from the outside world, and even howled an ancient love song beneath my balcony, one full moon. Damien happened to walk in on it once. He said nothing, merely stood behind me in silence, watching the clueless suitor below. The next day, Jacob was reassigned to the harshest, coldest northern outpost for an indefinite patrol to strengthen border defenses. Everyone understood the Alpha's warning. The real crisis came from a rogue Alpha known only as Bloodfang. He was an outcast, exiled from all the major packs, and infamous for his cruelty. For reasons unknown, he had set his sights on Damien's territory and had taken Serafina, who had snuck away from my pack, to visit me. Bloodfang sent a bloody package. Inside was a lock of Serafina's hair and a single sentence: "Send Ilara alone to get her back." In that moment, all my defiance, all my carefully constructed walls, crumbled. For the first time, I ran desperately and without thinking into Damien's study, his forbidden sanctuary. 0. 2. Damien, do something. I grabbed his arm, my voice choked with sobs. Seraphina's been taken by Bloodfang. He wants me to trade myself for her. He put down his papers and took my cold hands in his. His palms were, as always, warm and strong. In that instant, my animal instincts had already made the choice for me, long before my mind could catch up. I had to rely on him. He went to Bloodfang's den alone. It wasn't a negotiation, it was a declaration. He gave Bloodfang two choices: release the girl or die. Bloodfang chose to challenge his authority. And so, Damien showed him what true alpha rage looked like. That night, the castle's backup power failed, plunging us into darkness. Only the flickering firelight remained, casting our shadows long and thin against the walls. He returned with the lingering scent of blood and a few fresh, minor wounds. He walked toward me, backing me against a wall. The darkness amplified everything. I could smell the wild, intoxicating scent of his cedar and blood. I could feel the searing heat radiating from his body. Why did you come to me for help? His voice was unnervingly clear in the silence. I turned my face away, defiant. Because you're the alpha. It's your responsibility. Say it again, he growled, his hot breath brushing against my ear. His golden eyes burned in the dark, like two captured stars. I don't know. My voice faded. Yes, you do. He leaned in, his massive frame completely enveloping me. His lips were almost on mine, his scorching breath a phantom touch that made me tremble. Because, in your heart, you already see me as your mate. Want to try something else? I thought he was going to kiss me. I squeezed my eyes shut, my heart hammering against my ribs, threatening to break free. Suddenly, click. The backup power kicked back on. The room was flooded with light, a bucket of cold water on the simmering heat between us. I shoved him away in a panic and fled to my room. After that night, a rumor began to circulate through the pack. Damien had a true fated mate, a legendary moon goddess with pure white fur, blessed by the moon itself. They said he was waiting for her, and that marrying me was just a political necessity. The rumor was a poisoned dart that lodged itself deep in my heart. Jealousy and a sense of betrayal wrapped around me like suffocating vines. I finally broke. I stormed into his study and slammed a gossip magazine down on his desk. On the cover was a photo of him having dinner with a Hollywood actress. You have someone else in your heart, so why marry me? Just to use me as a broodmare and a political pawn? Who told you that? He asked, his expression unreadable as he watched my hysterical outburst. Everyone is saying it. They say you're waiting for your moon goddess. He laughed. It was the first time I'd ever seen him laugh, and it was more terrifying than his anger. He stood up and stalked toward me. Elara, it seems our methods of communication have been ineffective. Since you refuse to speak the truth, let's try another way. He used no ropes, no restraints. He simply used his pure, undeniable alpha strength to pin me against the cold stone wall. He captured both of my wrists in one of his hands, easily holding them above my head. My struggles were like a child's tantrum against him. You desire me, Elara. He stated it as a fact, his golden eyes locking onto mine, peeling back every layer of my soul. He lowered his head, his hot lips brushing my ear as he murmured, Your heartbeat, your scent, your very wolf soul, they're all screaming for me. Admit it. My mind went blank. My body trembled at his proximity. Not from fear, but from excitement. One last question. His lips trailed down the column of my neck, leaving a trail of fire in their wake. Do you have any idea how long I've waited for this day? Just as I was about to be completely lost in the dangerous cage he had built around me, the satellite phone in his pocket rang. The shrill sound was like a thunderclap, snapping me out of my daze. He looked intensely annoyed but released me to answer it. It was an urgent call from a border patrol. The voice on the other end was frantic. Alpha, we found Mr. Liam in the human exclusion zone. His condition is not good. The hospital's antiseptic smell was suffocating. The man in the bed was gaunt, his skin an unhealthy, ashen color. The gentle, scholarly man I once knew was gone. If it weren't for his eyes, still so kind, I would never have recognized my former fiancé, Liam. It's chronic silver poisoning, the pack's doctor explained quietly to Damien and me. Silver is a potent poison for our kind. He knew he was sick, but he hid it, refusing our herbal remedies and rituals. He was secretly using human medicine to suppress the symptoms. The drugs gave him temporary relief, but they allowed the silver to penetrate deeper into his organs and bones. Why would he do that? I asked, bewildered. Because he wanted to live his last days as a normal man. A young human girl I didn't recognize walked in from the hallway. Her eyes were red and swollen, but her gaze was resolute. This was Anna, the woman Liam had given everything up for. He knew he didn't have long, Anna said, her voice thick with tears. He didn't want the pack to see him lose his dignity as the silver ravaged him. That's why he chose me, a normal person who could only walk with him to the end of his road. The truth hit us all like a physical blow. The great betrayal was, in fact, a profound and desperate silent farewell. Tomorrow, Damien said, his voice raw as he looked at his dying brother, we take him home. A life was lost, but the living had to go on. Liam's death didn't tear the two packs apart. Instead, it made the treaty heavier, stronger, and more unbreakable than ever. It was no longer just a contract of convenience. It was a true alliance forged in blood and grief. In those sorrow-filled days, I finally began to understand what my father meant by mate. It wasn't just a lover, it was a comrade in arms. As our packs mourned, Damien and I, the future link between them, had to step up. We handled Liam's affairs together, comforted our restless people, and planned our future defenses side by side. We found solace in each other's arms, a private harbor where we could lick our wounds. When dawn came, we would rush back to our respective battlefields. I was no longer the willful girl who only wanted to run away, and he let me see the exhaustion and burden he carried beneath his cold alpha mask. After Liam's funeral, Damien took me to the highest cliff on Blackwood Ridge. From there, you could see the entire Silvermoon territory, the valleys, the forests, the lakes spread out below. There, on that cliff that had witnessed countless sunrises and sunsets, he knelt on one knee. The alliance is for the packs. This marriage is for me. He looked up, his golden eyes filled with a seriousness I had never seen before, and a flicker of nervousness. Elara Stormfang, will you marry me? He didn't offer a sparkling human ring. Instead, he opened his mouth slightly, revealing the sharp, white canines that symbolized his alpha power and authority. Let me place my mark on you, for eternity. I cried, tears blurring my vision but washing away the last traces of my fear and doubt. I tilted my head, offering him my neck, and gave him my answer. Among Liam's belongings was an encrypted hard drive. With Anna, we managed to unlock it. Inside were countless letters he had written to her, set up on an automatic sending schedule. He had described for her the beauty and mystery of the werewolf world, the landscapes she could never visit, the legends she would never see. He had even planned a round-the-world trip for her, so she could see the world through his eyes. Liam's death was a key that unlocked everyone's heart. Damien's mother, who had always been a pillar of strength, finally broke down and sobbed in my arms. A mother who had lost her youngest son cried like a helpless child. And in those shared tears, the entire pack began to slowly, but surely, heal. Anna left on her journey, armed with Liam's letters and his love. This is how he will follow his love through the human world, Damien whispered at my side. We chose not to hold our combining ceremony in the grand castle, but on the shores of the legendary moon-blessed lake of the Silver Moon Pack. Both packs gathered to witness the birth of their new Luna. As I walked toward Damien, who stood waiting for me in the center of the lake, my arm linked with my father's, Seraphina's prophecy came true. He, the eternally cold, eternally unbreakable, Alpha had red-rimmed eyes. The moment I reached him, he pulled me into a crushing embrace, as if trying to merge my very bones with his, to never be separated. Under the solemn gaze of the elder, he bent his head, and his warm fangs gently pierced the skin of my neck. In that instant, a powerful current, filled with all his emotions, flooded my body. The channel between our souls was thrown wide open, and I felt it all over a decade of love, as volcanic and passionate as it was deep and silent, a love that bordered on desperation. I finally understood. From the time we were 12, that blood-soaked boy had carved the image of a terrified little thing into his heart. At the climax of the ceremony, just as the elder was about to declare us eternal mates, Damien's phone vibrated. He pulled it out. A notification glowed on the screen. "You have one new message." The sender was Liam. It was a timed message of blessing. "Brother, by the time you read this, I know you and Ilara will finally be standing together, as you were always meant to. I know you love her more than I ever could, and you can protect her better than I ever could. Stop carrying the weight of the world on your own. Take her to see its beauty. For me..." I leaned against Damien, tears streaming down my face again, but this time they were tears of pure joy. Even if we wander among the stars, every beam of light will guide us home. The moonlight was like liquid silver, spilling over the quiet lake. Nearby, 2 wolf pups chased each other across the grass. "Brother, the alpha just bit the new Luna. Did it hurt her?" a small voice asked. The older pup puffed out his chest and patted his little brother on the head, mimicking the adults. "No, it didn't, because her brother is here now, and a brother will never let anything hurt you." Those innocent words were like the softest poem, a perfect echo of the fate that had bound Damien and me together for a lifetime. His identity as Alpha was once the shackle I fought to escape, but in the end, it became the gentlest oath, the promise to protect me for all my days.